welcome to episode 2 of the series Your Tenancy During COVID and Beyond. We hope you had an opportunity to check out our first episode, which explored the temporary changes in the rental law. But today we're going to talk about effective communication, because so many people, so many families are having a difficult time during COVID. And we want to be able to give you some tips on how you can communicate effectively with your landlord or your real estate agent. So to give us some tips is Laura. Laura is the Director of Solutions Property Management. She's also on the board of REIQ. Hello.
Hello, Abbey. Nice to be here.
So you've been in real estate for many years. You've seen all the good sides and all the bad sides. Tell us a little bit of your experience.
Yes. So I began in real estate in 2001, so that's almost 20 years ago. We had a real estate office, and then in 2008 we opened Solutions Property Management, and we basically just specialise in managing rental properties all around Brisbane, north side and south side, over 1,000 properties.
Wow. So tell us why communication is so important, especially during this time.
Oh gosh, where do I start? Communication is the number one thing that everyone needs to remember. So property managers by nature, we are communicators, and our job is to be the mediator between the tenants and the owners of the property. So if one side does not communicate effectively with us, then we're not able to communicate that to the other party. So everyone needs to have open communication. Any problem can be sorted as long as there is open communication.
So how do we effectively communicate? And I'll tell you everything I've done wrong when I've been a tenant, which is put my head in the sand when things are getting difficulties, I guess, come about, and also with repairs, and then maybe emailing a long life story on a Friday night. So how would you say that we could do it better? How can we effectively communicate?
So what you say is really, really true. A lot of tenants do that. They want to be good tenants. Let's start with that. Everybody wants to be a good tenant. Owners want to be a good landlord. So a lot of tenants, when they start to get into some sort of difficulties, they kind of get embarrassed. And like you, they stick their head in the sand and think, if they don't see me, then they won't know I've done something wrong. So that's the wrong thing to do. So as soon as you feel like there is something that's going to happen, that it's not going to go correct, you can't pay your rent, you've damaged the wall in some way, just pick up the phone or send an email to your property manager and just be upfront and honest and say, look, this has happened, what should I do?
One thing during COVID is obviously financial difficulties. There's a lot of people that are having difficulty paying rent. They might have lost their jobs. How do they communicate with the landlord or the real estate agent to negotiate maybe a pay reduction? Yep,
definitely. So we as agents have been trained now in what to do with all the COVID issues. So what we have as an agency, and many agencies have got their own way of doing things, but in general, everything needs to be in writing. So the first thing that the tenant needs to do is just either call or email their property manager, whichever is the preferred method that they know of. And so just say, look, this is what's happened, I've lost my job or I've lost my income, and we as the agent will send a form, some documents for the tenant to fill out, and it actually explains what's happened, and they do also need to provide evidence. They might have pay slips, they might have some kind of evidence that they have been stood down or that their pay has gone down, and then we collect that, and then we use that to send to the owner for their advice, for their negotiation, for their authorisation. And so the tenant needs to look at their income and their expenses and put forward to us what they can pay. So if they're looking for a half reduction in rent, or they're looking for a third, or they say, look, I just need some time now before my Centrelink payments come in, and then I can pay back everything that I owe. So it's not just, oh, I want a reduction in rent. Are you going to pay it back, or are you going to or not able to pay it back? And so all of that comes to us, and then we bring that to the owner, and then it's up to us to try to negotiate on the tenant's behalf. Therefore, we need all the information.
And I guess having it in writing might be preferred to have all
Absolutely, because then we provide that to the landlord. The landlord can see what situation the tenant is in, and then provided the landlords are able to do something, because a lot of landlords are in the same situation. They've lost their job, and they've not only got one mortgage but two mortgages to pay. And so they might be in a position where they really can't offer too much. But it has to be in writing, because then the landlord has that in writing, and then they would reply in writing. So it's all documented.
Yep.
And then they might need that to take to their bank, for example, if they're requesting a reduction in their mortgage payments. So it does have to be in writing. That's the best way to do it.
And what are the other concerns during COVID?
So apart from rent reduction, a big concern is people attending the property. There are various reasons for someone to actually have to attend a tenanted property, and one big thing is maintenance. So of course, if something goes wrong at the property, then we send our contractors out there to fix the problem. And another would be our routine inspections. Everybody knows that every few months, a property manager's one of our jobs is to go and inspect the property, and not just look at how the tenant's keeping the property, but also see if there's any maintenance issues that has missed the attention of the tenant.
So what can a tenant do if they are concerned about, maybe having those routine inspections? They don't want people coming over to the house. What's something that they could do?
So definitely, again, communication.
Yeah.
Call or email. We prefer email, but some property managers maybe prefer phone. So everyone is different. So send an email to your property manager and explain your concerns, and then at least we can explain why the entry is necessary, and explain our protocol in how we don't touch anything, and we make sure that we wash our hands beforehand and all that. And so if the tenant can feel a little bit more comfortable with us attending, then they might be okay with us coming. And also with the maintenance, it's fine for the tenant to even contact the tradie and say, "Oh, listen,
and just feel reassured."
I believe that you're attending to check our smoke alarms, for example, which is really important. So, look, can you just tell me a little bit about what your protocols are? And our tradies are like, "Yeah, look, what do you want? I'll send it to you. We have masks, we have gloves. They really, really take it very seriously." And so if the tenant realises that yes, nobody wants this to spread, then they might feel a bit more comfortable with people attending the property.
What about if someone is in quarantine? Because that's a different situation. They're not allowed to have people come into the house. They're not allowed to go outside the house. What can they do about their tenancy then?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, if a tenant has gone into quarantine, first thing to do is send an email or call the property manager and advise us. Even if there's no one due to come, they don't know that maybe a smoke alarm needs to be tested in a couple of weeks. So please send us an email and say, look, we're in quarantine now, and maybe some sort of proof would be great.
Like maybe a doctor's certificate or something?
A medical certificate or some kind of direction. They would have received an email of some sort from the government. And so send that to us, that's the proof and the time frame. So we can put that in our records. And if there's anything that needs to be done at the property, then we can delay it as long as it's not an emergency.
So I'm guessing from all of this, it is to be upfront, to not be nervous about the conversations that you have to have, because sometimes they can all be difficult, but just to be on the front foot and actually communicate, whether it is an email or phone call.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just so important, because I get it that tenants can feel embarrassed because they know their obligations to pay their rent and to do the right thing. And I get it that they might feel embarrassed, but it's so much better for them just to be upfront and call or email their property manager and just say, this is what's happened, this is the situation. Because we can then work with that.
Yeah.
And then we can advise them what to do, and then we'll go to the owner and say, look, this has happened, the tenant's just lost their job, they probably won't be able to pay rent for the next week or so. We'll get some paperwork in, let's see what we can do. And so at least the owners, can be, if they don't know, then they can't help either. And a lot of times even when it's not COVID, let's say the tenants are late 1 week with rent, owners will be calling us and saying, what's happened?
Yeah.
Something happened. And we say, well, I don't think so. I don't know. If the
But at
tenants
least
don't
if you
tell
knew,
us,
you could
yeah.
say, yeah.
And some of the owners get concerned. Oh, have they lost their job? Are they okay? And of course, they're concerned about the income as well. But they're also concerned about the tenant. And if we don't know, or we say, well, sorry, I got no idea. The tenant hasn't returned our calls. They haven't replied to our SMSs. Then we're all in the dark. So it's just so important that we know, so that we can at least tell the owner, oh, look, unfortunately they've lost their job, but they're going to be making double payments in the next couple of weeks. Then the owners go, oh, thank goodness, that's okay. We'll give them a little bit of leeway.
And I think with everything that's going on, we all understand, because like they always say, we are all in this together.
Yeah.
We know what is going on, so just try and be upfront and communicate. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you did get some useful tips out of how to effectively communicate with your landlord or your real estate agent. In tomorrow's episode, we're going to be talking about cleaning. Cleaning's not my favourite thing, but we are going to explore the difference between cleaning, disinfecting, and also our favourite word of 2020, sanitising. So tag your friends, share this with your family, or maybe a flatmate as well, and we hope you can join us for tomorrow. If you are going through a hard time in your tenancy, you can find information and support through the COVID-19 Residential Hub at covid19.qld.gov.au/the hub. You can contact the RTA by visiting rta.qld.gov.au, phone 1300 366 311, or SMS HI to 0480 000 782. You can find more helpful contacts at tenancyskills.com.au/COVID support.